my name is Delaney Drake. Welcome to You and Me Creamery. I am the head farmer here at the creamery. I milk the sheep and I make the dairy products. Today I wanted to hop on and just dive a little bit deeper into one of the questions I get a lot, and that is, what is a herd share and how do I get raw milk? So we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit. But I wanted to kind of preface all of this with, I might turn this into a two-parter. There is kind of a general, how do you get raw milk, and what is a herd share for like general terms. And then there's a little bit more of a specific nitty-gritty. Here are the details to what makes our herd share unique and specific to us. And it was just something I couldn't cover in one live. So if you have any questions, comment below. I will try to answer them all today. If you have questions and I'm not able to get back and look at them, I will try to answer them in the part 2. So there will be a two-parter. This one's just more general, and then it'll be more specific for our sheep milk specifically. The other thing I wanted to say is that the legal and the laws in every state is very different. And so when I talk about raw milk and what we have to do, this is specific to Tennessee. All states are different, but this is, if you're in a different state and you're watching this, just keep in mind that this isn't the case for everywhere. I just know my experience from being in Tennessee and starting our dairy in Tennessee. And so a lot of the rules for us can spread to other states, but not exactly. We actually are a part of a group called Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund, and it is a wonderful group that has lawyers and other things to help farmers to legalize what they're doing and make sure that they're doing it as well, doing it legally and not crossing any lines or barriers that we as farmers don't know. So our contracts and everything like that goes through that group that helps us make sure we're using the legalese and all that stuff. And we can talk a little bit more about that because that's the nitty-gritty of the part 2. Today really is just an overview. But that's where all of my kind of legal knowledge has come from. And I am, again, the farmer. I'm not the lawyer, so I will try to explain it as best I can, but just from my farming experience on that side. So again, if you're doing it as a producer, there's a lot more that you need to know about you specifically, your farm and that. And I would suggest going to the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund for any of those specifics. I'm in this particular one, I'm talking mostly to the consumer. And so that's kind of why it's going to be more generalized and I won't be so specific. So just wanted to make sure that we stated that. And so in Tennessee, the law states, and this is specific to raw milk, not from a dairy that is like checks all the boxes and all of the all the things you need to have an official dairy. So this is specific to raw milk and specific to kind of a backyard dairy, which is what we are. So in Tennessee, it is illegal to sell or distribute raw milk. And that can be cow, goat, sheep, any of it. It is illegal to sell, so exchange it for money, or to distribute it. And the only way, there's two ways actually, that you could acquire raw milk. One is if the farmer is selling it as pet food, not for human consumption, like there's labels and everything that you have to put on that specifically states you're not supposed to drink it. That one gets a little fuzzy when it comes to providing it to the community. I mean, it's sort of like buying like dog food at the store. You could bring it home, you could eat it. There's no law that says you can't eat it once you purchase it. But there's a lot less regulations and standards for that. A lot of people will sell that for people making soap. You're not technically supposed to be selling it for consumption. But that's kind of that fuzzy gray area. And then the other way, which we prefer, we focus mostly on our herd share members. And then if we have any excess, we will sell the pet food for soap makers or for other purposes. But we focus mostly on herd shares. So herd share is a term that a lot of people have not heard of before. But it basically means that you are purchasing a share of our flock, and because you own a share of that flock, you are entitled to the milk that we produce. So you do a one-time purchase of a herd share, and then you do a monthly upkeep fee. And the upkeep fee is basically helping us support the animals and milk the animals. You're kind of paying more for the labor than the actual milk itself. And a lot of ways I like to explain the cost as sort of like a regular like Netflix membership. The only difference is that you have that initial purchase of the share, and then you have that monthly upkeep fee. But the herd share is just a way for you to access raw milk because those animals are legally, they're not legally yours because we still take care of them, and we have the power to do as we need to do with them as the head farmer. But you guys own a share, so you are entitled to the milk. We're not selling it. That's sort of the legal loophole on getting around purchasing the raw milk. And so that's sort of that's the best way we feel comfortable providing our raw milk, because we have gone through the Farm to Consumer Legal Defense Fund. We've made our own contract. A lot of the things that they specifically suggested we have applied, such as testing the milk and what to test for. We really, on our end, want to make sure that we are providing the cleanest and the best raw milk that we possibly can. And so we make sure that we put in stipulations on our end to make sure that we are upheld to those standards. And then we also are able to add things to the contract that keeps our customers able to kind of hold their end of the bargain, kind of a thing. Those are more specifics to like times of pickups. You don't randomly show up on the farm because it's still our farm and it's still our home. And so it's hard sometimes to have people just randomly show up. So like there's certain things like that that make that make it into the contract that we specifically wrote for for our herd share contract. And that's kind of where that's sort of the onboarding process that we'll talk in part 2 is like more of the specifics, the nitty gritty. But that's like really unique to every farm. Every farm, if they do a herd share, are going to have their own stipulations, their own rules, I guess, code of conduct, I guess you could say, pickup times, way they do things. Like, for instance, last year we used glass jars for pickup. We found that was sort of difficult to kind of keep track of. And so this year we're going to try working on doing the plastic cartons. And so that was something we worked with over the summer to implement into the contract and change and switch. The other thing that we have that's in addition to the milk we provide is something called a labor contract. The labor contract, again, is not us selling milk products. It's our customers or herd share members paying for the labor to make the item for them. So, for instance, we have cheeses available. You are paying us to take the milk that is already yours and making it into cheese. And so you're paying us for the labor, but we're not technically selling the little container of cheese. So those are the two ways that the herd share, the pet food are the two ways you can acquire raw milk, specifically in Tennessee. That is one of those. Oh, and then for our herd shares, the amount of milk that you are getting for each share is also dependent on the farm. A lot of people will do 1 gallon per share for like cow's milk. We specifically do sheep's milk, and so you don't get as much milk from a sheep as you do a cow. Cow obviously is bigger. Another fact that some people don't know is that, cows have 4 udders, sheep have 2. Sorry, not udders. They both have 1 udder. The cow has 4 teats. The sheep has 2. So that is another reason why cows produce more milk. You're going to get more milk potentially from a cow herd share than you will from a sheep herd share. But if you're anyone like me, who sheep is your only option, it makes sense in the whole size comparison. We do a half gallon per share for our herd share, members. We tried to do a quarter of a gallon for like a half a share, and it just was a little too confusing. And it also, because we're going into the plastic containers, there's like not really any great containers that are quarter of a gallon containers. We'd have to buy 2 separate sizes, and so we just were like, what, it just makes more sense to do half a gallon for a share. And so that's how we do it for our sheep milk. I'm looking over just to make sure I cover everything. But yeah, those are the overviews. I'm going to take a quick look and see if anyone has questions. Looks like we are good. I didn't want to go on too long today because the specifics really need to be its own thing, and so we will talk more about like what an onboarding process for us would look like. If you are interested in our raw milk or want to know more, I have a link to our website in the description box. You can go to our FAQ section, and that kind of gives a little bit more of like pickup times, a little bit more of the specifics that I'll be talking about maybe in the next one. We'll have to see how much we can cover in that section. But FAQs, purchasing a herd share, those you can all find at our website. You can also message me here on Facebook. Again, we sell herd shares as raw sheep's milk. We do have pet food available, the pet food not for human consumption, like excess milk available, but the milk goes specifically to our herd share members first, so we don't always have the pet food option. And so if you want consistent milk per week, you can, that's where the herd share comes in. And in addition to that, one of the things I didn't mention before is one of the unique things you can add to a herd share contract is how often people can pick up. We have weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly options for pickup. The monthly options would just have frozen milk in like some of your half gallons. That's primarily due to space for us. We don't have as many fresh frozen fridges, freezers and fridges available. We just have a certain amount, and so depending on our accessibility and what we have available, some of those might have to be frozen options for like the month, because if you're a monthly pickup, because of how long it is between pickups. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, again, put them below. I will try to answer them either in the comments or in our next one. I don't know if next week will be the part 2 or 2 weeks from now. There is another subject that I would like to cover next week. We are actually prepping for our Valentine's Day soaps. And I thought maybe it would be fun to hop on here and talk about the scents and the colors and show a couple of the bars we have. And so that might be for next week so we can get some pre-orders in. And then maybe the second part of the herd share will be 2 weeks from now. But again, thank you so much for joining me either live or later. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you need and want any of our sheep's milk, and I hope you have a blessed day. Bye-bye.